fell yesterday, and she's recuperating, so I'm going to be acting as chair tonight. Thank you for coming. I see some guests in the audience: Casey Kutchin, City Councilman, Janice McLean, Matilda, other staff. See Tom McLaughlin back there with the newspaper. We don't address you very often, but glad to have you. And Tillman Mears with the city, and anybody else that I missed, so welcome. We're going to be talking about direction to the staff regarding federal and state legislative, to our state and state and federal delegations tonight. So we'll start with Mr. Jones, and then at the end we'll have public comments on some needs that you want to address as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you guys for taking this time to listen to staff and give us some direction as we move forward through the annual legislative process. We're actually getting started a little early this year, simply because we want to perhaps do a better job than we've done in the past of packaging our projects up and presenting them to our legislative delegation, both at the state and federal level. Billy Williams is going to share some thoughts with you, and then we'll ask you for your direction to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
I know that Larry thinks that I can't be brief, but I'm going to try to be real quick. The main issue of today is making sure that this board clearly begins the process related to our funding and what will happen with legislative opportunities in this coming session. The main objective tonight, and we're only talking specifically, where we are addressing all pots of money, but I'm trying to keep it within basically the triumph or the economic dollars that will come across. And with that, I think it's very, very important that I am present. I have met with the individual commissioners, that we coordinate with the school board, with the municipalities. I have met with and are planning on meeting to have this similar type meeting with the cities and with the school board. They've been great in reaching out. We're basically looking at a very strategic model of education, one, the advocacy and the collaboration, second, to advance Walton County as one unit as we move forward. So with that, basically what we need tonight, as Mr. Jones indicated, is your priorities, and we're going to basically box those initially into three components. One will be environment, economic, and infrastructure. And it doesn't mean by any means you have to stay within that. We'll take your priorities and box them. And this will be an ongoing process. The end game is by October 1 to have a very solid legislative package that has been addressed with an internal team, an engineering, external team, public relations, and sort of advocacy lobbying, so that we are advancing very, very clearly what the objectives are. And so with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it over, and we'll listen as we go through. We can do it in any framework that you so choose, but having each commissioner give us their overview and perspective will help us quantify and qualify this so that we can move forward.
Okay.
And I can tell you that through our conversations, some things that have been preliminary identified is the water and sewer project along 331, paving of dirt roads that have an environmental impact on our waterways, including Choctawhatchee Bay, Choctawhatchee River, and the other waterways throughout the county. The stormwater projects, and understanding the impacts of some of those environmental projects on economic development, particularly on the water and sewer along the 331 corridor, how that will facilitate economic growth, and the stormwater projects that we've already identified, and moving forward through the process, perhaps utilizing some of the available funding to advance those at a quicker pace. And so those are the things that have been brought to our attention to date, but we're certainly here today to kind of formalize, and you just for you to give us some direction of which ones you'd like to move forward in what priority.
Right, and I think it's important that we try to get the most out of our money, and if we can do matching grants or buy-ins, and I know City of Freeport has, I heard that they have a grant possibility that that we could buy into and make our money go further for 331 sewer and water, so that They also talked about a connector road from the industrial park. That would be great if we could add that, and then a connector road at the interstate. I believe it would start at Diane Pickett's property. I mean, these are just ideas that I've heard. And, of course, paving of the dirt roads. So who would like to go next?
Well, one thing that I've been working with the city on, Miss Casey and Miss Janice back there, is that, as we all know, there were several miles of sewer systems that was put in along LaGrange and other locations adjoining the Choctawhatchee Bay. The problem that's been as far as putting people on the system is the cost of getting onto the system. I think it's around $6,500 per. So I was hoping we could look at maybe utilizing some of these funds to go ahead and tie on those existing homes that are out there and get them tied onto the system. Any new construction obviously already has to pay to get on there for that. But we need to try and see if we can get that off. That will help the bay, which has got some problems out there with some of the contaminants that are leaching in from these old septic systems that are out there. If we can maybe utilize something with DEP or whatever to help facilitate that, because it is improving the quality of the water and the health of the bay. So I'd like that to be considered to be one of the priorities, to use that existing thing. And then, of course, I agree with Commissioner Jones concerning the 331 corridor for economic development. We've got to have that tie-in from the interstate all the way down to the bay. And I'm sure the city would love for us to help them as much as we possibly can, since it is their franchise area. But that's just a couple of them. The bay with the existing, try to get these people tied on, pick up the cost of that tie-in at this time, or give them a timeline to get it done. And then also try to work on the 331 corridor connection.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Emphill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree with the three areas that Larry put forth and the ones that you and Bill just talked about. I think they're all important and they're all very high priority. I hate to say one would rank higher than another. But one of the areas that's also important, and I know we've dealt with the wastewater aspect, is clean water. We've got parts of rural Walton County that do not have quality clean water. And I think that it's important not only from a health standpoint, but also from an economic development standpoint. So instead of being on wells that might be stagnant or not providing good fresh water, if we can find a way to get the water and sewer combination to those areas, will also provide basis for infrastructure for companies that might want to come in and open up businesses or expand existing businesses. So I think that there is a environmental and an economic benefit to take a look at that as well, especially to the eastern part of the county, east of 331.
Commissioner Meadows?
Yes, I think it's interesting that all of these kind of tie together. So I think when you fund infrastructure, when you construct infrastructure, you're also helping the economy. And when you're helping the environment, you're helping the economy. So they're all kind of intertwined, but I would like to see, of course, the 331 water and sewer is going to be a huge economic driver, I think, for the 331 corridor when it is complete. And I think that paving the dirt roads that run into the bay, for sure, is one of them, and the coastal dune lakes. And I think the stormwater projects that we've already lined up, we already have them analyzed, and we also have some projects ready to go on that. So I think that's one that could be at the. It's kind of low-hanging fruit. It's already been analyzed. It's already been done. So I think that'd be important. I think the extension of the broadband, I think, for economic development, maybe beyond what we're doing with the school and with the public offices. Also, too, I'd like to see the interconnection of bike paths and sidewalks throughout the county, and I think that's I think those are my main priorities. But I think infrastructure, which includes roads, drainage, bridges, parks, anything that improves the infrastructure, and then the economy, of course. I'd like to see something in the way of some training facilities or something that would help train some of the employees that we're trying to get to come into the county, these businesses. So that would be my list.
If I may just mention one other thing, we've had some good success over the last 2 or 3 years with procuring funds for replacing coastal Dune Lake bridges, and I believe in some of our conversation those were mentioned as well, so that we would certainly want to continue that effort.
Madam Chair, and I'd like to ask Mr. Williams a question. One of the things that we've heard over time with regards to this, and we haven't talked about education aspect of it, when we were doing economic development, and particularly when we were talking about Airbus, they were talking about the need for skilled students coming out of the school system, and it needs to be more than just the electricians and the plumbers and the carpenters, but some that, depending upon what we want to focus on for bringing in for economic development, that I'd like to see this well coordinated with them so that if they have some special training needs that will help us land these opportunities, that we can also weave that into our presentation to the legislature.
Mr. Chapman?
And just to follow up a little bit, most people know my side of the county is the east side, and it's along the Choctawhatchee River, which dumps into the Choctawhatchee Bay and subsequently into the Gulf. And I have a significant number of roads, not only coming off 81 to the river, but all these feeder roads that are run throughout the district that dump in the Bruce Creek or Seven Runs or whatever, who subsequently ends up in the river, which ends up in the bay. And it'd be nice if we can get them paved, as many of them as we can. And I know all districts have issues with dirt roads, and I'm not asking for all the pennies, but I appreciate it. But anyway,
You could get them, huh?
if I can get them, I'll take them. But the other thing we might want to look at too is expanding opportunities for the tourists that come into the area. Not everybody wants to go to the beach. The bike trails and multi-use paths are great, but I would like to see if we could possibly tie into water management or some other state agency to enhance our ecotourism along the Choctawhatchee River. We've got several nice boat ramps and parks down there on the river that just need a little bit more enhancement to maybe pull in the YOLO boards, canoes,
Yo-yo boards, too.
and kayaks that come in there and give them a good tour of the river. I mean, if you ever get down there, you'd enjoy it if it ain't too high. But maybe we can incorporate something like that, Billy, as far as ecotourism, try to expand our facilities and amenities along the river for those that may not want to spend the entire time at the beach.
And I'm thinking about traffic on Saturday afternoon trying to get down here. Transportation is a major, we just had it 4-lane. I know they're not going 6-lane right away, so we need to think of some way to try to get some of the cars off the road in some form or fashion. So, anybody have anything else before we open up to the public? Okay.
I would mention, as you indicated, a lot of these are interconnected in multiple ways. When you look at innovative technologies, such as the autonomous vehicles, congestion, transportation, the roads. Commissioner Chapman, as you indicated, when you look at particular areas with septic tank that are leaching into the bay, as well as the economic component, there will be a vast array of different opportunities that, again, we will very much compartmentalize for you. When we show a project, it won't just be a project. You'll be able to drill down. We anticipate basically initially scoping these projects that you've identified into 3 areas as identified. Then you'll literally, and we'll keep you abreast at your direction on when you want us to come, but it will show everything you're talking about. For example, if it's a USDA or a CDBG, if we're dealing with low to moderate income and where we're targeting areas, those will all be into a particular project. So you won't just see a project with a cost. you'll see all of the connectivity to it on what's available and what direction you want us to go. Because the beautiful part about a lot of these dollars is that you can leverage them, you can interconnect them, and that's actually the intent of these dollars as we come forward. So I think you've given us a lot of information. We'll come back. We'll continue our dialogue, with the municipalities and with the school board, so that you will see a comprehensive plan in the areas that you've identified.
And that's one of the reasons we wanted to get ahead of this early this year, so that we can pull all those players together and utilize all the resources that each of us have, and those that are good for the common good of the whole, that we can work together to do a better job of making a presentation come time for legislative session.
Absolutely, and for your citizens will, and again, it's very complex and confusing, but we are closing out the part one of the multi-year plan that will go out, but we're going to have a rollout to the citizens and outreach, so we'll keep the public very much informed. If there's anything specific in your districts that you would like us to do to inform the public so they have input and direction as we move forward, we'll keep them fully informed as they see this vetting process that we're working through.
Thank you. Okay. And we might get some more great ideas from the public out here. So if you would like to come up and speak, raise your hand. Any comments? I'm sure we covered it all then, Freeport.
So, Commissioners, from that, and I think we've got a great list. And what we would like to do is take this and begin massaging it, looking at the ones that play well together, and focusing on putting those together in some package. Quite frankly, we've got a meeting tomorrow with all of our in-house engineering staff and our consulting engineers to look at how we move each of these to the next phase, which will be putting together the package that we would eventually deliver to the legislature. So,
All right, well, those, go ahead.
you barring any questions?
What's our time frame for that?
Well, we hope to have it done about October 1. We're going to spend some time with the engineering staff to look at, without going into deep engineering processes, but to move them to whatever point we can logistically over the next 45 to 60 days, then begin what I call packaging them up and dressing them up so that when we deliver them, it's a well put together project that clearly stresses the importance of the projects to our community and to our county and our region, quite frankly, and so that when the legislators have the opportunity to review them, they have a comprehensive look at what water and sewer along 331 does, from an economic standpoint, from a environmental standpoint as well.
Any other comments? Okay. We will call this meeting to an end, and we have another one at 4 o'clock planning. So stay if you can. 5 o'clock. Never mind.
Yeah.
5 o'clock. Thank you.
Very well.